Hello, Merry Christmas, and welcome back to Deep Dive Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Mira.
I'm your other host,
Co-host.
Co-host,
Yeah.
Elliot. Yeah, welcome back. We're the only podcast to ever do a Christmas episode, so
Yeah.
hope you enjoy
Or
that.
TV show.
Yeah.
Never has anyone thought of this before.
I mean, comics have done it, obviously, but...
I wonder, has anyone ever done a Hanukkah episode, though?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Well, if we make up our own holiday, we can be the first one to celebrate it with the podcast issue of it.
The McElroy brothers made a holiday called Candle Nights, where it's just all of the kind of winter holidays in one.
Okay, it's an amalgamation.
Yeah.
Hey, well, go you. But for me, it's Christmas, baby.
It's all about that jingle.
We're recording this on Christmas Eve, so this will probably be uploaded on Christmas Day, I'd imagine. So, please, instead of listening to this on Christmas Day, go spend some time with your family or friends, or I don't know, go to a soup shelter or something.
Or, everyone's unwrapping your present and you're like, hold on, listen to this, and then for the next 15 to 8 minutes it's just us talking.
Us just talking nonsense, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully not. No. Yeah, do give us a listen if you've got any time, because we've got some interesting old stuff to talk to you about today. I nearly messed that up, but not quite. Saved it. So there's a lot of news gone on this week, Elliot. Mm-hmm. We have also seen Aquaman this week. Fish Guy, the movie, the musical. Yeah. And we also have a crap comic book character of the week. So I think I'm going to kick things off with some news that I've got here on my phone.
A little bit of news.
Yeah, so first things first, Entertainment Weekly, that famous magazine that we all know and love, has released the first images of the upcoming Aladdin live-action film.
Oh.
Have you seen these?
I have not seen them.
Well, God bless you, because I wish I was in your shoes.
Why? What are they?
So, the picture of Aladdin and, is it Jasmine or Yasmin? I forget. Jasmine. They look pretty good. They look maybe a little older than I would have cast them as, personally, but that's fine. Yeah. And then you've got goddamn Will Smith as the genie.
Oh, and he's just a dude, huh?
He's just a dude, and he looks absolutely terrible. I hate it. It makes me so uncomfortable. Now, according to Will Smith on Instagram, he's going to be largely CGI in blue.
Okay.
But why did they make him look like this? He looks awful.
In that picture, the only noise that I can possibly imagine coming out of him is, "Oh, hey, it's me, Will Smith.
Hey, it's me, the genie. Hey, I'll make your wish come true."
Basically, yeah.
He just looks so happy, and God bless him for that, But I hate the look of this.
Well, hey, did you see me in YouTube Rewind? It's me, Will Smith.
That's hot. Oh, if you haven't seen the picture, just give it a quick Google. It doesn't look good.
He sure looks happy to be there, though.
He does, yeah. He's got a weird, really round beard, but just on the chin.
Yeah.
How are they going to pull this off? In terms of Robin Williams as Genie kind of did a lot of references and freestyle, kind of improv and what have you, and I just don't imagine Will Smith could do any of that.
He'll be doing a lot of references, but to his own rap albums.
Oh yeah, everyone's favorite rapper.
Yeah.
Did he do Let's Get Jiggy with It?
I don't know, but I hope so.
The only one anyone knows is in West Philadelphia.
Yeah, there'll be a bit where he tells them the story of how he became a genie, and he'll start off with
no, I got a cab.
Yeah. He'll start it off again the same way, and everyone will be like, "Oh man!"
He'll just be spinning around in that shot of the chair in the intro.
Yeah.
So there's that. Moving on swiftly, Joker has wrapped filming this week.
Okay, great. Joker with
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
That's right. From the look of all of the set photos, it just looks like he's basically running around a city and tripping over stuff and laughing.
That's the entirety of the film.
Yeah, honestly,
there's
no set photos of him doing anything but just being in a street in one of several wacky outfits, and tripping over like empty boxes of cardboard or like fruit stalls and stuff.
You're
And
like, whoa, hey.
yeah, but like, is that what he does now?
Maybe. I mean, what do you think is going to happen in this film?
I don't know. Is it going to be an origin story? Because he's pretty old for the Joker to have an origin.
Will it be about him kind of... I don't know, because a lot of the times they like to have be like, the Joker, and he's a crime boss. Will it be about him?
Yeah.
Which is weird, because in the comics, like, he's not always a... You know, a lot of the time he's just kind of doing his own thing, and I guess he has some, like, lackeys, but... It's rare that he's like, I need to take over crime, you know. That's not really
the Suicide Squad one had him as almost like a mafia guy, didn't it? You know,
and that's not really his kind of his thing, though.
No, but that being said, I did really enjoy the more kind of gangster crime boss aspect of the Jack Nicholson Joker.
Yeah,
and I feel like in terms of appearance and setting, because this is in the 80s as well. This new Joker film's in the 80s. This could feel more like an origin for that Joker than anything.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know though, because like obviously the Joker's origin has always been a little bit vague and changeable, and I saw someone had a really great idea, which was imagine if this was just a film of and like different people in the film all were giving like conflicting versions of what his origin was and stuff, or you know, they're like, yeah, I knew that guy, he was this, and this, and then, you know, there's a policeman, and like we brought him in and we found out that he was this, and this, and basically it was just about him throwing everyone off the scent of like who he really was or something.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, but then again, I don't know.
Like that for a whole film, maybe not.
Maybe not, no. Yeah. Someone's phone is ringing downstairs. There's a commercial break. What do you buy to turn off your phone when there's a podcast recording or you're in the cinema?
Yeah, please turn it off when you're in the cinema.
Oh, please. So many times when we're in the cinema, someone's phone is bloody... Even just, like, lighting up and it's so bright and you're like, at least put it on minimum brightness if you've got to use it.
There'll be a little lull and they're like, right, time to check Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Not only did you pay for this, I paid for this.
Exactly. We're not having it. Damn, that phone's really still ringing. Oh, it's finished. Okay.
So. You jinxed it.
Oh, no, it's still going.
Again.
It's never enough. So you're going to see the Joker film?
I mean, I probably will for this podcast.
But you wouldn't otherwise?
I don't think I would otherwise, yeah.
No, either do I. Joaquin Phoenix is a good actor.
He is, yeah.
But, I don't know. I'm not sure about this at all.
Well, we'll probably watch it and we'll be like, well, it was okay.
Yeah, probably. Or we'll be like, this was really good. Just kidding, no.
Joshing you.
Drake and joshing you. Damn, that phone's still ringing. This person really wants to get through, whoever it is. It's going again!
It's going again!
Oh my god.
Non-stop, baby.
Yeah, okay. Well, enjoy some background festive tunes.
Yeah, I mean, some people put some music in the back in their podcast, and we just have to do it.
This was planned. It's just me calling the phone continuously. Alright, next thing. Hellboy has had a new poster and some images. Have you seen them?
Have you seen the trailer?
I have not seen the trailer.
Oh, a trailer came out too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's the picture. It's a picture of Hellboy. He's got the crab claw hand thing.
Yeah. Because I watched the trailer and it looks quite... it kind of almost looks like it's made out of like construction paper.
Oh, yeah.
It looks really flimsy and like not real in any way possible.
And we're back. We had to go and turn off that damn phone.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's made of construction paper, you're saying?
Yeah, it just looks like it's quite flimsy. It looks quite cosplay, you know?
That's not good, is it?
No, and I don't know, he kind of looks a bit too... He looks like he'd be a villain in like a...
Yeah.
In like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. Just the way they've done the makeup makes him look like constantly just like...
In pain or something?
Vaguely evil, you know?
Okay, yeah. I mean, he's meant to be like Hellspawn, isn't he?
Yeah, but do you know like the old...
Hellboy.
Hellboy, he was kind of like... Oh, he's like this really... Everyone was scared of him, but when you actually looked at him, you're like... Nah, he's alright.
Yeah, though I feel like that was a much more campy approach than they'll go with on this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of him, he gets his gun in a box and he's like, heh, some dads get their kid a bike for Christmas. Now it's time for me to shoot people up.
That famous line from the comics.
Yeah, there's a lot of monsters in it, though.
Oh,
a lot of different monsters. I mean, like, in the first one, it was like, there was those weird dog plant thing. There's the demi-dogs from season 2 of
Stranger Things. I hardly remember anything about those films.
Yeah.
Apart from him when he was like just a CGI baby, and that was weird.
Yeah. No, I mean there's mostly in that film it's mostly like the monsters are the ones on the team, but in this one you see him just fighting giants, you see him fighting
cool.
all sorts of things. So there's going to be a lot of monsters, but
well, I was going to show you that picture and be like, hey, look, it's the new guy, but turns out you've seen a lot more than I have. This is just a picture of Hellboy, a girl with dreadlocks, and an Asian guy. So
oh yeah, he doesn't like Hellboy.
Who, the Asian guy?
Yeah, he's got a lot of scars on one side of his face.
Oh, and it's only ever one side, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's like, hey, we should be fighting monsters, not teaming up with them. And Hellboy's like, have you seen yourself? And I'm like, damn, Hellboy. If anyone was gonna like not be like, hey, you shouldn't tease people for their personal like appearance, it should be you, Hellboy. What the hell, man?
That's so harsh.
Yeah.
It's like in every film where there's a girl with any kind of like birthmark or scar and she's like, I'm a monster.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, lass. You've covered that up with your fringe and no one would even know it's there unless you drew attention to it all the time.
Yeah.
Or do you remember in Age of Ultron when Scarlett Johansson's like, I'm a monster because I can't have children?
Yeah.
That's a bit...
Yeah.
Okay. That's Joss Whedon for you.
Yeah. Sure, I'm glad he got the reins of Justice League, huh?
Yeah, well, exactly. Okay, last thing before we move on to our Aquaman review. Hobbs and Shaw, which is the Fast and Furious spin-off film featuring The Rock and Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Which caused a lot of controversy with the original cast of Fast and Furious, because they were like, this is all about the family and now you guys are doing your own spin-off, and I think, Vin Diesel and Ludacris are all pretty upset about it. But anyway... It's got a new, longer official title.
Okay.
Which is Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so, you know what? We're really in the age now of the longer the title is, the better. Yeah. This is right up there with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, The Crimes of Grindelwald, and...
A Wizarding World film.
And the Birds of Prey, The Fabulous Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. What a terrible title. Like, I get they want to put Fast and Furious in the title so that they can make bank off people who like Fast and Furious films, because they make like $1 billion every film.
It's like when they were like, okay, so we've got Star Wars Rogue One, and then they were like, well, guys, we want to make sure it's not the next one, and so it's Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Which just doesn't sound anywhere near as good,
I was saying Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw sounds to me like one of those like stage production type things with like pyrotechnics and recast actors, that does like a world tour or whatever.
It's got a musical number.
It sounds, that's not a... Hobbs and Shaw would have been fine, or even just like Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw would have been better.
Yeah.
It
really makes you wonder, like, don't you get people in to tell you whether or not this is a good idea before you make these decisions?
I mean, they must have like test audiences and stuff to see how it flies and what have you, but like, who are those people?
I don't know.
They don't speak for me anyway.
It's like every time there's a DC film, they're like, the test audience got up and clapped at the end. They were laughing the whole way through.
Yeah,
like,
they were crying with joy when they left the cinema and they went right back into the next screening.
Like, why don't you just get like
regular dudes,
yeah.
The problem with that as well, though, is that if you put a regular dude into a free film and you're like, what did you think of it? They're always going to be like, hey, yeah, it was good. Maybe you'll bring me back for the next one, Thanks for the free film or whatever. So,
we're like with the Star Wars, just get a Star Wars nerd in to be like, there's a problem with that.
Star Wars fans suck, though.
Oh, they do, but like, it's things like in the original trilogy, they really cemented some facts, like Luke remembered seeing his mother or whatever, and then the prequel...
They undid that.
Yeah, they undid that. So if you just had someone in to be like, hey, that doesn't make any sense in the canon you've already established.
I'd say, like, nowadays they're redoing a lot of those things in the comic books and books instead. And I'd say, like, maybe because Luke is so force powerful, he, like, did remember or...
whatever,
felt some kind of connection to, because everything's connected to the force.
Yeah.
So, could be that.
A lot of midichlorians in that room at the time, so...
Yeah. How did we get into this? I don't even remember. Oh, actually, just while we're on that note, the comic books just confirmed that basically the Emperor is Anakin's father, and like put him together with midichlorians on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Which was like a long-standing fan theory,
Yeah.
I guess, but that's like, you know, that's actually canon now, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, we were talking about Buster and Crumps, the new Fantastic Four film. Not Fantastic Fast and Furious film.
Oh, Buster and Crumps, yeah. It was fantastic cars and where to speed them.
Yeah. Where to be furious in them.
Yeah. Oh, what a title.
Well.
You know, similarly bad is Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, the extended Ultimate Edition, featuring Wonder Woman. It's like, oh my god.
How much does a title need?
I don't know. The only time that I find a long title like that excusable is when it's like, you know, Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, and, you know, it's kind of got the alternate title in there and what have you. Birdman had one of them as well. It was Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of something, you know, and like I feel like they're kind of clever in a way, you know, whereas this is just
speaking of long titles, I remember forgetting the Dawn of the Rise of the End of the Planet of the Apes 2. Apes with Machine Guns, the movie.
They're too much, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they did them in reverse order as well, where Rise comes before Dawn, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I feel like they should definitely be in reverse order.
No, these apes were really up
before
Dawn. First light, when going for a run, they're really...
Let's get this spread.
Yeah. That's how they took over, because they were just so forward.
Yeah, they were, you know, they were grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I gotta respect it.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about Aquaman, Elliot.
Yeah,
we saw Aquaman 2 days ago.
Yeah,
3 days ago.
And the jury is in. It sure is fun, but it also sure is bad.
Yeah, I like this more than I definitely thought I would.
Yeah.
But it's not good, is it?
No.
It's my favorite DC. What are they? Worlds of DC? Is that what they're called now?
I thought it was DCU. No.
No, that was never official, but they have officially
the Worlds of DC.
I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the best one.
Yeah, for sure. It's because we were talking about what's the most rewatchable DC film.
Yeah.
And I was saying maybe like a Batman versus Superman I can watch again because it's like kind of funny.
It's good action.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to be like, wow, that sucks. But this one, it's like, it's just as bad, but it's also just actually funny, I guess.
I'd say this is better. Like, yeah. I think that overall the storyline is stronger, maybe slightly more formulaic. But
it kind of makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah. And the acting performances are hugely improved from previous DC films.
Yeah, people kind of feel like they want to be there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this is like significantly the most enjoyable one. Probably followed by Wonder Woman, but there's quite a big gap between them. The way that everyone kind of felt about being in this film felt like they actually liked these characters and stuff. Yeah.
In comparison to like when you looked at the press for Justice League, when they were like, yeah, it's really fun. I just hope you all have a really fun time watching it, and they seemed.
They hated it already.
It's no surprise that like half of those people then left, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas I think Jason Momoa has always been one of the ones who's been the most like
into it.
He loves this character. He loves being in them.
Yeah, well, it did have quite a lot of good bits, but there were some contentious points as well.
Yeah.
So I've got some notes about just stuff good and bad that we can talk about briefly. Patrick Wilson, who plays Orm, Ocean Master, acts his socks off.
Oh, he does.
He is so good, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
What did you think of his performance? Because I didn't know what to expect from him. I felt like he was a weird cast.
Yeah, but he really just did pull it off. And there was I don't know, there's something about him where he felt. Now, this is kind of a good thing and a bad thing, because one of the things that kind of confused me about it is there's this really weird mix of like old-timey and futuristic in Atlantis. Like all of the kings are like Game of Thrones characters, but then they have stormtroopers.
Yeah.
You know, that always really kind of confused me as we were watching it. But he's really got him, and there's another king, the ginger guy.
Oh, Nereus.
Yeah, Nereus' father, whatever.
Yeah.
They really
Zebel. Yeah. That's their kingdom, isn't it?
Yeah, they really had this great, like, kingly kind of...
I kept expecting them to fight, but they were just kind of like, no, let's just talk it out.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, he was Dolph Lundgren, wasn't he?
Yes.
Creed. No, not Creed. What am I... Drago.
Drago.
That was Carl Weathers in a lot of makeup. I really like Patrick Wilson, because, again, James Wan's worked with Patrick Wilson on the Conjuring films.
Yep.
And I felt like this might have been one of those cases where it's just like a director's like, hey, this is my favourite guy, we'll bring him back in, you know.
Get in your own, Wilson.
But no, he was really, really good. So props to him. Did you notice that obviously Aquaman's usually blonde and Ocean Master usually has really dark hair, and they were reversed in this? That was interesting. Yeah. Interesting decision. Speaking of hair, some of the underwater hair in this is really bad.
Oh, yeah.
It's so weird looking.
The CGI in general felt like it needed a couple more months of work.
Yeah.
Especially there's bits where as soon as someone is swimming around and they're not like the character who's talking, they just turn to CGI. So someone will be like leaving the scene, so they'll turn around and start like floating towards the door, and then all of a sudden it's just snap. You can tell they're like CGI.
Yeah. They'd be like literally like someone just cut them out in Photoshop and dragged them across the screen.
Across the screen,
yeah. It was
kind of rough there.
I felt like the underwater physics was just off for most of this, and usually what happens is you have, you do the film, you know what the CGI needs to be done, and then they'll send it out to like several CGI houses, and they'll do separate parts of the film and different aspects. But because we've a lot less reference for just stuff moving underwater, I think that this didn't really, everyone probably did it differently in the different houses and stuff.
Yeah, it was quite strange because obviously it's really hard to set a live action film underwater.
Yeah.
But it was the way that sometimes people would kind of swim, sometimes they do like a little paddle, sometimes they just move through the water. It was like they weren't quite sure how Atlanteans actually get around.
No, I don't. Yeah, I agree, because like the Atlanteans, you'd think that they were able to propel themselves and just kind of move through the water as if it was like a superpower.
Yeah.
But then I felt like other sea creatures did that, and then some didn't, and it just overall felt a bit like it felt sluggish at times, I think.
And there's definitely times when they were like, okay, now's the time when we stand on the floor, and now's the time that we float. I'm like,
but they all just knew.
Yeah, well, how do you know that now is a floating time and other times are a standing time?
I don't. Yeah, that was a weird one.
In fact, why would you stand? Because obviously standing underwater is gonna be hard, as opposed to swimming.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like overall the CGI for this film felt kind of most like the prequel trilogy to me.
Yeah.
Whereby I mean, like, it felt like if this had had another 5-10 years, the CGI probably would have been good enough to pull off something of this scale overall. Yeah. But it wasn't quite there.
No, it wasn't quite there. And I guess similarly, there's a lot of fantasy cities and a lot of underwater cities and that kind of thing that we got from the prequels.
Well, speaking of which, though, I like that this felt more like a fantasy film than a superhero sci-fi type.
It really did, yeah.
You kind of, the temples and the underwater cities and the world building of the different creatures and stuff, and not spending too long explaining all of it and stuff also.
That was one of my favourite parts about the film, was the idea that the 7 seas weren't like 7 different seas, but they were 7 different kingdoms of underwater races.
Yeah.
And so you had your blonde people, your ginger people, your mermaids, your piranha people, and your molten crabs.
Oh yeah, molten crabs, my favourite.
And then they were like, and the other 2 are gone, bye-bye.
Yeah.
I guess one of the ones were the ones who used to be in the desert.
Well, speaking of that, that's my next point. So they fly to Africa as Pitbull's cover of Africa plays.
Yeah.
Which, good God, why? That film definitely... No, that song definitely lost it a point on the Pierce Brosnan scale for me. But yeah, so they get to Africa, they go in the temple, which is buried underneath the desert, basically. Yeah. Was it the Sahara? I don't remember.
It was the Sahara, yeah.
So it's buried underneath there. they fall into it, and then they fall again, and then they get to the place where they need to be, and then it just like cuts and they're in Sicily. How did they get out of there?
In the trailer, they just jump out of the airplane. Kind of halfway through airplane, tried to say helicopters or aeroplane.
Yeah, it's one of the two.
One of the plane, aeroplane. And I was like, okay, so maybe Mara's gonna like pull some water from underneath the desert. No, they just hit the ground and like, yeah, that was fine.
They hit the ground really hard.
Yeah,
but also they're like, he's like screaming as he falls, as if it's gonna hurt him or whatever, and then it's fine.
He's fine, yeah.
And then he laughs, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So how they got out? How they got to Sicily? I've got no clue.
And that's another thing. Also, in the first scene on the submarine where he says permission to come on board when he's already on board, which immediately bothered me. He gets like a knife to the chest, and it just kind of bounces off his chest.
Yeah.
So in the comic books, basically he's got super tough skin, which is not like bulletproof, but it's bullet resistant.
Yeah.
And the reason he has that is because he spends so much time so deep underwater that the pressure basically affects his skin, so it's able to take such things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he spends a huge amount of time underwater, and definitely not deep underwater at this stage.
No.
So I don't really know why his skin is so tough that he can survive jumping out of a plane or a knife to the sternum.
It kind of implied that it kind of felt different in this film, that it wasn't because he was underwater so much. It felt it was kind of just part of his Atlantean heritage.
Maybe,
and therefore it was only Atlantean steel that could hurt him.
But then didn't his mother get stabbed or something at one stage? Or am I misremembering that?
No, I don't think she got stabbed.
Who got stabbed through the body in this?
The Mermaid King.
Oh, maybe. I'm misremembering then, I suppose.
Yeah. Do you know what I just remembered the other day?
No.
Mera was in Justice League.
Oh yeah, she was.
Yeah, I thought this was the first time we ever saw her.
No, she opens up a bubble and tells Aquaman his family history or something.
Yeah, I remember that when I was watching like a review of Justice League, and I was like, wow, she really was in that film, huh?
With much darker hair.
Yeah.
And so they changed the rules. Now they're just able to talk underwater.
But only the highborns can breathe water, whatever that
really
means. No,
well, so how do they handle the rest?
Only the highborns can breathe air.
Okay,
that's why the rest of them have to have their stormtrooper outfits.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's like the comics, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the scenes that I felt really
didn't Mura say didn't someone say that that Aquaman had never even been to Atlantis in this film?
Yeah.
But he was there in Justice League protecting the Mother Box.
Nope. Couldn't have been. Must
have been someone else.
This is the first time he's ever been to Atlantis. He was like, wow, look at all the fish cars.
Look at that bridge that's exactly the same as the Bifrost in Asgard.
Yeah.
That was weird, wasn't it?
It was
a weird addition. Because I've never seen that in comic books before.
No.
So
they were like, hey, that looks pretty cool. Slam that bad boy in.
Just put a road in there.
One of the bits that I felt most kind of just gives you the feel for what Aquaman is they have a gladiator fight, and it's in a thing called the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
Now the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Pacific Ocean is surrounded by volcanoes.
Yeah.
But I feel like someone was like, oh, there's something about the sea called the Ring of Fire? Yeah, we'll throw that in. Oh, no, sir, it's just the entire Pacific Ocean. No, we'll just put some lava underwater.
It's one specific spot.
And then they start their gladiator fight, and like a video game, 2 stat boards come up for Ocean Master, and it's like pros, Ocean Master pros, the king, the best, he's the strongest, cons, nothing. And then it's Aquaman pros, nothing, cons, is a loser, sucks, has never even been underwater, probably can't talk to fish. And then as they're fighting, an octopus is just playing the drums.
Yeah, he is. And that's Topo, who we talked about last week, is Aquaman's old octopus pal. And he can play all instruments, by the way. Yeah, wow. He's got like a mandolin and a harp and stuff as well, which somehow they work underwater.
It's really funny because that's like the only time we see a sentient, other than like there's a big sea monster that's sentient, but other than that's the only time we see an animal doing anything that like an animal can't do. You know, the rest of the time, it's like,
they're just like towing stuff around, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, that was something I thought of as well. If Aquaman's the only dude who can telepathically talk to fish,
yeah,
how did they manage to get like whales and crocodiles or whatever to just like do stuff for them? Like,
trained him, I guess. I mean, we can't talk to horses, Mira.
I can.
Oh.
Oh, I let out my secret. Edit that out.
You didn't realize everyone else was like you, huh?
No, I thought I was not the only one, but maybe.
I guess they just trained them. You know, like as a beast of burden.
Fair
Because they're
enough.
kind of just beasts of burden, aren't they? Apart from Topo, who's just ripping off some sick drum beats.
Well, speaking of sound working underwater, the talking underwater at first was really distracting, I thought, because it's got that kind of like garbled effect on it. Like, and I noticed that less throughout the film, but then maybe it's something that they did for the start of the film and then they lessened it.
They lessened it throughout the film, yeah.
Yeah,
that makes
but
sense.
it sounded bad at first.
It did, yeah.
And Willem Dafoe particularly, I feel like his voice just wasn't made to have effects on it. Like, it just didn't, the sound didn't travel very well.
Together, Aquaman, we can rule this ocean.
Yeah, that's basically what it sounded like, isn't it? Also, there was the scene where he was at the cliff with Mura and they jumped into the ocean, but then he kept flashing back to when Volko was training him.
Yeah, when
but it was like match cut, so it looked like his girlfriend was turning into Willem Dafoe,
yeah.
which I didn't realize was such a phobia of mine until right now. And he was weirdly CGI'd younger as well, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
I feel like if that was in a Marvel film, people would have just like dumped all over it. You know what I mean? Like, it was not as good as any of the Marvel appearances. I don't think, the de-aging.
Not at all, no. I also feel like they maybe just wouldn't have de-aged him as much, you know? Like, just say Atlanteans age slower or something.
Yeah. Well, they de-aged Aquaman's dad, Tom, as well. And at first I was like, is he like weirdly de-aged? Because I haven't seen that guy in a while.
Yeah, or did he just age really
Did
well?
he just age really well? And then I was like, no, he's plasticky. He's got to be de-aged. And then when you see what he actually looks like now, I'm like, oh, that was a really significant overhaul, actually.
Yeah.
So,
It was the fact that we saw it in that order. I think if we saw it in the other, if we saw him old and then young, it would have looked a lot worse.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was probably a good editing decision.
So, we were pretty excited about Black Manta. What did you think about Black Manta?
Yeah, I thought his design was really cool. His backstory was pretty good, actually. I felt like maybe he could have done more, but I guess they're saving him for the sequel as well. Also, I only just realized that he's like manta ray themed, and he shoots rays from his eyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you think that was intentional?
Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows?
Do you Did you know? Did you notice that at the start he tries to stab Aquaman and doesn't go in, but then he gets his grandfather's knife and he uses that on Aquaman and just pierces him with it?
No, really.
Yeah. So do you think
it's like the
Atlantean seal or whatever? Yeah. So maybe we'll get like if the next villain is more just Black Manta, it'll be like there's always been a Black Manta who fought Atlanteans or whatever. That's why he's got this weapon that can hurt them.
That'd be cool with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a couple of shots of him where he like turns around and he's supposed to look like really menacing and stuff, and he actually just looked a little silly, I thought.
Yeah.
But I can deal with that. Sicily, Elliot. There was a scene that felt stripped right out of Mamma Mia.
Oh yeah, they just it's kind of the first time Mira's been on the surface and it's not being like garbage or the desert.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, look.
The Earth is okay.
The Earth is okay. And it's really, she's dancing around this Mediterranean island and she's like, oh look,
there's
a
a fountain and
flowers.
She eats a rose.
Yeah, he gets her some, they don't pay for anything in that shot. They just take stuff from stalls and give it to each other. And he gives her
well, they wouldn't have Earth money.
No, but
do they use euro in Sicily?
Yeah, but like, imagine if someone was like, oh, a bunch of flowers, here's a gold galleon in the blue, and I'd be like, hell yeah.
I can sell that for a lot more than a bunch of roses.
Yeah, but she starts eating these roses, and it's like, haha, look, she doesn't understand human culture. And she offers it to him, and he just starts eating them too, and he's like, they're not that bad.
Yeah.
Come on. Just get like a pizza or something, Aquaman. What are you doing?
Well, then again, we saw Nicole Kidman just like slurping up a goldfish, so
Oh yeah,
maybe they don't really have the same taste buds as
everything's
people.
salty.
Yeah, must be.
Yeah, for
That was a weird scene, and also she's so like confused by everything, but then she knows what a marina is as well.
yeah.
You
When
know,
she knows what a
She's like,
movie is.
oh, the boats aren't free.
Yeah.
But then like I don't know, flower. Like if you were to have the underwater equivalent of flowers, it'd be like coral, right? Or you know like
some type of
seaweed or something. But
seaweed,
like
yeah.
I bet she doesn't eat that
No.
underwater, right? So I
Yeah.
don't know.
She was like, "Oh, I know nothing about human culture. I don't know what Pinocchio is." And then she's like, he makes a reference to Pinocchio, and she's like, "You based our lives off a children's book," and he's like, "Oh, I thought it was a movie."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, this idiot!" But like, how do you know what a movie is?
They have movies in Atlantis.
I guess they
They
do.
have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
Yeah,
the sequel, and Finding Nemo,
yeah.
and Jaws, but from the shark's perspective.
Oh,
He's the good guy.
completely different film.
The shark's like, I'm gonna need a smaller boat.
There's a bit at the end where they're having there's a big war between the Brine, who are these like crab men,
Yeah.
and Orm has his army of Atlanteans, Mira's dad's army of Atlanteans, but they're ginger, and fishmen,
Yeah.
but who like the mermaid people like aren't there by choice. You know, he killed the Mermaid King, and then
It was like, you fight for me now.
the next in line was like a little girl, and he was like, "Okay, I'll kill you if you don't join me." But Aquaman shows up and just wipes out like half of both sides.
He really does.
He just, and like, so many of those guys are innocent
Yeah.
people. What are you doing, Aquaman?
Well, you know, he's got to be king. And
Yeah.
he's got the big kaiju. Yeah, he's the big boy fish monster, and he just wipes everyone, doesn't he?
Yeah, just
I think
crushes absolutely everyone.
The issue with kaiju films or films with big monsters like that, and especially underwater, is that there's no sense of scale anymore, because everything has to be zoomed out so far that you can see the whole monster.
Whole big boy, yeah.
And underwater, there's no like features or anything either, so you've no kind of idea of how close anything is to anything else. So
Yeah.
it did feel like better than most third acts of DC films, but still did kind of just delve into like a spaceless CGI mess, you know?
Yeah, it is.
A bit messy.
Yeah, it was quite messy, and also now Aquaman has the Kraken from Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
So,
Good on you.
I mean, that thing literally wiped out thousands of people in the space of about 5 minutes. So next time there's any problem at all,
Just
you can
use
just
the
be
use the kaiju.
like, "Hey, come on, kaiju, we're gonna just step on him."
Yeah, I don't. And he never attempted to call any of the Justice League or anything.
No, he was
either.
like, "I guess I'm gonna do this on my own."
He's like, the overworld is under attack. Maybe I should let Superman know about this.
Superman could go underwater. Superman doesn't need to breathe.
Sure,
underwater.
he doesn't need to breathe in space, so he'd be okay underwater.
Cyborg doesn't need to breathe. He's
Does he
not going
not?
to need lungs.
Oh, yeah,
He's
probably.
All that's left to him in this film is part of a face.
Yeah, a CGI face.
The rest of him is just bad CGI.
Yeah, well, that can survive underwater.
Yeah, sure.
It's waterproof.
I'm pretty sure it did survive underwater in Justice League, no?
Well, there was that bit where they cracked open the sewer pipe because they were like, Aquaman needs something to do in this.
But he didn't, like, start to rust or anything, so he's good to go underwater.
But that's a slow process. Maybe he oxidized slowly.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about a little bit the fight scenes in this, because generally they were really good, I thought.
Yeah.
Now, generally what happens, and I want to talk about this maybe a bit more next week, because we don't probably have time to go into the depths of it this week, but oftentimes in a film of this scale, you've got your director, and then as soon as there's a kind of action sequences and stuff, you'll have specific second unit directors who'll come in to direct those scenes, and you'll have stunt coordinators and maybe even different cinematographers so that they can match the choreography better.
Yeah.
They'll work kind of quite closely together, but as a second unit, you know. In this film, though, you could really tell every time the instance that it swapped to second unit director, because they'd have wider lenses and the shots were longer, and it really felt like just from like a camera angle changing, you could be like, okay, now the second unit director is taking over.
Now we're into fights.
fight mode, yeah. And there was no kind of the usual superhero, like, they fight a bit, they talk, they fight a bit, they talk, or, you know, they, like, shout things at each other. It was just when there was a fight scene, they just fight for, like, 30
non-stop,
seconds.
Yeah.
The
bit in Sicily, my favourite bit is... There's kind of like the Atlantean guards who are like stormtroopers, and then there's like the Atlantean royal guard who are also in red. But those ones are just juggernauts. Like there's a bit where a guy falls into a house and Mira is running across the rooftops, so he just starts running through the houses and just smashing through every wall.
That was cool, wasn't it?
Just, like the fastest path towards her, it didn't matter that there was just like houses in the way.
Similarly with that scene, as cool as the fighting and action was, there was no sense of scale to that either. Like I had no idea where they were running towards.
What they were doing.
No, not really.
Quite chaotic.
But the hand-to-hand especially was great, and I wanted to touch on, and I say this, and I don't mean it as disrespect to Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman, I don't, but every time, I don't follow Gal Gadot on Instagram, I don't follow DC or anything, but every time I go on my Instagram Explore page, there's a new video of Gal Gadot like lifting weights or practicing kickboxing or whatever it is that she's doing.
Yeah.
But the fighting in Wonder Woman is nowhere near as good as in this.
No, the fighting in this is a step up for sure.
Nicole Kidman, who, God bless her, doesn't look like she has an athletic bone in her body. Now, I say that, I don't know, but she doesn't look like she's ever trained in any kind of fighting before or anything. Like, blew her out of the water, if you will. You know, like, she looked so much better as a fighter than Gal Gadot does, and I'm like, what's the point in all this training if all it takes is, like, a better second unit director and choreographer? So yeah, that was the one that was the first kind of fight scene you see, and that impressed me.
Yeah, the one where it's with the Atlantean guards or whatever, and she kind of just tears them apart. Yeah.
In the little lighthouse house also. Yeah, it was good that. I appreciate that. Can you believe they went to the center of the earth in this film?
Oh, they go to Jurassic Park, and Nicole Kidman is just there, and she's like, "Hey, what's up? It's me. It's the Wasp's mother from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
We did that already, right? Let's go."
Keep your eyes on your own scripts, Hollywood. Yeah, it really was a bit. I mean, not that Ant-Man and the Wasp's like rescuing the mother thing was particularly.
It was the first time it's ever been done.
But it's felt close enough together, and the fact that they look more or less the same, but just have like grey hair.
They were both in whitish suits.
Yeah,
with
exoskeletons
on them. Yeah, it's quite similar anyway.
Yeah. So, overall, what are you giving this?
On the Pierce Brosnan scale, I'll give it like a peer, I think maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it kind of depends on if you're looking like, is it a good film or is it like how you want to watch?
Rate it as a film and then rate it in enjoyment.
I think, enjoyment is like a Pierce bruh.
Okay.
Because I had fun with it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it. But then the actual quality of film is like a peer.
Yeah, I'm actually not going to give mine because that's basically the same, I think. I think that's what I'd give it also.
Like, it's not a great film, but like it was fun to watch for sure.
I'd watch this again. Maybe not in cinemas, but I'd watch it again on DVD or whatever.
This one feels like a really summery film. It's kind of strange that like you come out and then it's like a Christmas lights or whatever.
I get the feeling from this that you'd get from like, maybe not the more recent ones, but like the first couple of Pirates of the Caribbean or like Transformers or something like that, where you know, like a lot of people are really gonna like it. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's great, but like
you'll have fun with it for sure.
So that's all kind of the stuff on Aquaman I had to talk about.
Okay.
I did want to just say also actually that the comic book style costumes were great.
Oh yeah, they were very.
All of them were accurate.
Were very accurate and
like, the most accurate of probably any superhero film I've seen
ever. Yeah,
yeah.
It was actually
really great.
Everyone kind of looked like they were supposed to.
Orm looked brilliant. He looked like straight from the New 52, like Drowned Earth stuff as well. Where he
and at one
great.
Point he had this like metal helmet that kind of bent to his
it
face.
It was
had expressions like he did, and
which isn't great in live action, but
no, but like it was cool.
It looks cool. Yeah. Cool. All right, you've got a crap comic book character this week,
do.
Don't you?
Well, hey, it's we got Bumblebee coming out, which
already out.
I think it's already out, but maybe not all over the world.
Yeah.
But it's what looks like a horse film, but instead of a horse, it's a car.
Damn, I didn't think about it like that.
You know, it's that the girl finds the horse.
Yeah.
And the horse is all alone, and nobody wants the horse.
and then she wins the race at the end.
She wins the race, but someone wants to kill the horse, and
yeah.
Yeah.
Haley Steinfeld does not look like a horse girl, though.
No.
She doesn't look like a car girl either, though.
But that film is also shot like a horse girl film.
Right.
You know, it really does look like it. So I decided I'd dip into the Transformers comics.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, in Transformers you've got Autobots and Decepticons. And typically the Decepticons are a lot cooler, and the Autobots have a lot more of the kind of the silly ones.
Yeah, like fire trucks and stuff people want, like kids want.
Yeah, but also there's, you know, cameras and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's definitely some silly ones, but there's kind of too many of that kind for me to... I couldn't, like, find a comic to tell you about, because they're just kind of...
Okay.
They don't have a silly story, they just are silly, you know?
Their existence.
Yeah, but I found one called Rat Pack.
Oh yeah, I recognize the name of that one.
Yeah, so do you want to take a guess as to what? Because, you know, sometimes...
Wait, is Rat Pack the one that can turn into 3 things?
No.
Is it the cassette one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So he turns from a giant robot bat into a cassette. And not even a cassette tape, just the cassette.
You know, someone I knew when I was a kid had a toy of him.
Oh, really?
It was a cassette player, not a cassette.
Okay.
But it worked. You could actually put cassettes in it,
that is
as
cool.
well as it being like the big bat thing. Yeah, I do recall. I was never into Transformers, really.
That's a cool toy, though.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, no, he turns from a giant bat into like a cassette, but he also just has this weird, like, he just loves Dracula. He's like,
does he?
He's like, it's me, the Rat Pack.
Oh no, that's not good.
And his plan is, he's like, hey guys, us Decepticons, we're just cars, right? So we need fuel. But why are we wasting all our time getting fuel when we can just get all the humans to give us their fuel? So he's just like, I want to steal your oil.
Oh no, that's terrible.
He's so cheesy. So what he does is he gets he designs a new type of car wash, and it's like the Car Wash Ultimate Pro, but it hypnotizes people into giving Rat Pack their oil.
That's terrible.
But
does he have a castle?
Yeah, he's got.
It's
like an oil. It's quite cool. It's like an oil rig castle.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, but he sees that and he's like, "Wow, that is like a castle. I must have."
Why do the Transformers have such accents? I don't understand.
It's like in one of them. There's like a samurai Transformer.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you're from space. How are you a samurai?
He's just the weeb Transformer.
Yeah. No, but it's a classic thing where he makes a car wash that hypnotizes people, but it only hypnotizes people for a short time.
Okay.
But he's like, but now I have the Car Wash Pro 2, which hypnotizes you forever.
Oh no.
So the main character,
he's slamming that upgrade button on the keyboard.
But the main character is this guy who works at like a mechanics with his dad, and he gets hypnotizes, and someone takes a picture of him. And the Flash takes him out of the hypnosis, so he's like, "Oh, great!
I'm out.
All you need is a flashing light to change people, you know, to unhypnotize people." So he goes to the castle and he fights Rat Pack. But luckily, inside the castle is just like a million neon lights that are just like ready to flash. So all he has to do is like, throw a wrench at a light and everyone's cured. And it's like, no, I definitely just can't do that again with my car wash that hypnotizes you forever.
The plan's ruined.
But the problem is he's he's a big robot. He can't sell his car washes himself. Can you imagine a giant robot rat trying to say, no. So he teams up with a corporation.
Okay.
And
Rat Pack Limited.
Rat Pack Corp. And as soon as people escape, they're like, oh no, this is bad PR. We're gonna refund everyone who gave us who bought one, and we're gonna give you back all your oil. And Rat Pack's like, oh no, the corporation's stealing all my money. And he just flies away, and he's just ashamed of himself.
Wait, so this starts as like a vampire story, and then it turns into just what, the evils of capitalism?
Yeah, but like,
okay, thanks, Transformers by Hasbro.
Maybe it's the benefits, because it's capitalism gets rid of the villain.
Okay.
So
okay. Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so maybe it is the benefits of capitalism, but at the start it's really funny because he's like, all the Decepticons are like, man, no one has as much fuel as Rat Pack. We all want to be as cool as Rat Pack. And then at the end he's like, oh no, time to escape. And this issue is called, I believe, The Car Wash of Doom.
Oh, that sounds like a Goosebumps book.
It does, yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. And when's this from? It's got to be 92.
What is? I think it might be 93.
Oh
so
no,
we're
we're
real
so
close.
92 is that year from now on is going to be the car wash of doom. That was the year when everything good and bad came out.
Yeah, it was like, it's no middle sliders.
No.
You can be just terrible or, hey, it's really good.
Yeah, that's such a weird year.
Yeah.
We talk that one comes up like nearly every week in Crap Comic Book. I don't know what happened that year. I bet like if I looked up like drug spikes that year were just like through the roof.
Rocket, yeah, skyrocket in 92.
Yeah, Transformers is a weird one, but
yeah, so in this issue there was no Transformers you would have recognized.
Okay.
There was
I'd recognize Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, maybe Megatron.
Megatron, depending on how he looks. I'd recognize Starscream.
Is he a jet?
Yeah, he's like the jet plane, but he's like the most important jet plane one.
Okay. What was the one that could turn into like a freight train?
Oh, I don't remember that one.
No, okay.
Give me some Transformer names.
I don't know. Autobot.
Oh, you got it. Can you remember any? There's Crusher, who's demolition.
Okay.
Truck.
Is there? No, that's not real. There's the planet that's a Transformer.
Oh, there is. Yeah.
Cybertron, is it?
Something like that.
Cyber.
There's Jazz, Jazz is like a silver sports car, and in the film he gets ripped in two by Megatron.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's that scene always stuck out for me because they didn't need to kill off any character, and he's just like he's tiny compared to Megatron, and he's like, you want a piece of me, and Megatron's like, I'll take two, and just stares him off.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
That's proper Michael Bay. That peak.
Yeah.
Wow, he sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are pretty bad, but
yeah,
Rat Pack in particular is just like this weird. I don't know why they decided to go so Dracula themed.
Rat Pack's a weird name as well, because that was that group of like Frank Sinatra and all that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like that.
And he's a bat.
Yeah,
he's not
Bat Pack would have been better. Yeah, but then it wouldn't make sense.
It kind of sounds like backpack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
He could have been a bat who turned into a backpack or something.
Who are you getting to play this dude?
I want the guy who played the Dracula in Sesame Street.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be 1, 2. I hate it.
Yeah.
But now they're making Bumblebee. Maybe they'll do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And hey, listen, I'm probably not gonna see it, but Bumblebee doesn't look too bad. Yeah.
I heard it got like an A- on Cinema Score, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
and I like Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah,
or Field.
The transformations in it also look really cool. It's like so much better than the Michael Bay ones, where it just kind of turns into a mess of silver.
It looks like someone took your cutlery drawer and threw it down a hill.
It looks like you kind of just got like an entire trash dump, rolled it into a ball, and then at the end it was a robot.
Yeah, basically.
You can clearly see which part of the vehicle are each. Like their face isn't just like this weird mess of shards or whatever.
Do this is set in like the 80s, I think, Bumblebee, but I feel like when it was announced they said it was going to be like the 40s or something.
Yeah. Man, what is it at the moment where they're like, yep, this one's in the 80s, baby?
So basically every 30 years... Well, no. So every kind of new generation, they go back and capitalize on what was popular 30 years before, because that's the stage when people who were children and in their formative years during that time period finally have the expendable income to invest and go and see that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, kind of the 2010s have been 80s centric, and like we're already starting to creep into the 90s, but I guarantee the 2020s will be all 90s stuff.
Yeah. Did you watch BoJack Horseman?
No.
He gets a girlfriend who's an owl, and she...
Who does?
BoJack Horseman.
Is he a horse?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a horse head.
Somehow that's less weird than if he was a human. But still pretty weird.
But she's been in a coma since the 80s, and so to make her feel, everything's a bit, sudden and everything's different, so he takes her to a 50s diner, because what's more 80s than a 50s diner?
You're right.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Can animals go into comas the same way humans can?
In real life?
Yeah.
I generally were like, well, the animal's gone. We don't really give them the same rights that we give humans, I guess.
No, I know, but like you can fall into a coma naturally, can't you?
Yeah, but
So-
I don't know. I think probably.
I guess that's kind of what hibernation is, though.
Damn, yeah.
Anyway, this has been our nature segment of the show, where we don't really know
we
anything.
answer no questions,
We just
but
ask
we ask
questions.
plenty.
If there's any nature experts out there,
Tune in next time for Deep Dive Jungle.
Well, we're going to wrap up now, but before we go, Elliot, what's your favourite Christmas film?
What's my favourite Christmas film? We recently watched Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
That was an awful film, but also
It's so
brilliant.
good.
Like halfway through, you were like, "Now this is when it just loses grip on reality."
It does go so surreal halfway through, doesn't it?
What was the moment when it just kind of?
When all the Santas start singing in the lab, and then he fights all the Santas.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah.
It goes from like weird like family comedy to just what is going on in
it's just
so
chaos.
short amount of time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but we watch it every year and I love it.
Yeah.
What's your favourite?
I'm gonna go probably the same.
Yeah.
That or Die Hard.
In this house, we love Jingle All the Way.
We sure do. All right, well, thanks for listening. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll see you next week to talk about more news, because we didn't get through all of it. And maybe another film, though I doubt we're going to go to the cinema this week.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay, well, joke's on you,
Loser.
listener.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, oh, one and the same. Bye.